So a few years ago when I was a little girl, I dreamt of the day I could finally own my own horse. Back then I had no idea how much work it actually would be, but now owning my own horse, I realize how much it is and I would trade it for the world. Horses are a big part of most people's lives. Abraham Lincoln once said, "I can make a general in 5 minutes, but a good horse is an place." Today we will be talking about a horse's upkeep and how it requires quite a bit of work and attention, such as to keep up routinely checkups and much more. For starters, let's start for the basic necessities of an athletic horse. Daily needs of a horse that competes. It is important that a horse's stable has these very important factors to keep them happy and healthy. Horses need to have access to grass and hay at least twice a day, fed grain mixture 1 to 2 times a day, and depending on the weight and type of riding they do. According to the 4-H Club website, horses will need to consume approximately 15 to 20 pounds of combination hay, pasture, grass, and grain each day. The condition of the pasture should be checked every day. This includes quite a few factors to consider when checking a pasture. One must consider the horse's diet before turning them out. According to 4-H Guide, turning the horse out to a green lush pasture is dangerous and could result in colic or even death. You want to start slowly by letting them graze a few minutes and then increase over time. It is important to consider the space that the horse has. It is important that the horse has some kind of shelter. The horses should have enough space to run and exercise so they don't become lame, which means they could become flimsy or weak. Horse should always have access to shelter if unexpected weather occurs, and they hide under, so they have the ability to hide under a roof. And also, horses get spooked just like humans, so sometimes the shelter makes them feel safe and secure. Now it is important for horses' mental health to be around other horses and have compassion with their owner, including grooming, paying special attention to their behaviors. It is not a necessity that horses have to be around other horses, but is recommended by most vets. The relationship between a rider and a horse is important, especially if they compete in any riding style. They need to have an understanding of their horse and how they ride. They need to form a connection and a bond with their horse. Now, it is especially important to pay attention to the horse's behaviors, and the horse will tell you if he or she is in pain or unhappy in any way. They have many signs to look out for: stereotypical behaviors, weaving, cribbing, wind-sucking, scraping against bars, kicking walls, and biting themselves are all results of boredom, frustration, and stress. Exaggerated behaviors are box walking, scraping, pawing, head weaving, funny faces, and lower lip movements, and excessive drinking are also results of boredom, frustration, and stress. Horses need to exercise, whether that be on their own or with their rider. That is a must, and they need enough space to move, or else they will get frustrated and unhappy. Horses are regularly competing in rodeos or shows, they need to be ridden regularly and must be conditioned to keep their muscles strong and ready to compete. If they are trail horses, they need to have enough space in their pasture to move around by themselves. Movement is very important for horses and their health. Now we have discussed the horse's basic needs, let's dive into how maintenance needs and behaviors change due to weather changing seasons. Let's start with the fall season. With fall, there isn't much need for maintenance except for the preparation of winter, in which we will go in depth in a second. Fall is usually the season where the competitive season settles down. It's usually time to give your horse a break and let them rest for a well-done season, but still remember to keep some movement going. The winter season is the most difficult to keep up with, especially up north here. There are many things to do in preparation, and many factors are more limited. Remember 2 blankets ready on hand so you can layer and make sure the horse is kept warm through harsh winter nights. Any outdoor arena will be snowed over and unusable for the season, so it is important to find another place to keep conditioning. So be prepared to have a small indoor arena or barn, or maybe hall somewhere to keep your horse strong and healthy with movement. The pasture will be snowed over too, so it is important to stock up on hay because you will need to feed them and a little extra over time. Lastly, spring and summer is basically the same. Speaking for the maintenance part, it is back into competing and showing. Spring, when the snow starts to melt, it is important to keep your horse back in shape and ready to compete. Do not compete unless you have full confidence in your horse is ready and conditioned. Because of the snow melting, it will be muddy, and it is greatly important not to ride your horse in a muddy arena. If you do so, it could result in bad injury for yourself or your horse. And last but not least, dietary needs probably either the easiest or the hardest part about owning a horse. It depends what kind of horse you have. There are many kinds of grain and supplements you can use for your horse and different needs. With a horse who is difficult to keep weight on, you want to use supplements to support that. With young horses, it is important to use supplements to help strengthen their joints, and since they are growing, they tend to be sore and fragile. There are many different supplements you can use in your horse feed to help them. Sometimes that is just a challenge. Some horses will avoid eating any sort of powder and will blow it out with their nose, or will just spit it out completely. In that case, you would want to use vegetable oil or some kind of liquid base to have the powder stick to the grain. They are all sorts of grain for all different ages, and sometimes you just have to go buy ingredients and choose what's best for your horse regardless of age. For example, lots of horses have trouble gaining weight during the winter, so it is best to feed them a senior feed with mixed oats and corn in it. For performance horses, they have their own type of food. It's just down to the brand or ingredients you prefer to be in your grain. Sometimes you can use tricks if horses don't like certain kinds of foods. Horses usually like corn and oats because they just taste good. So you could use that and a mixture of whatever grain they use. And then sometimes you can use watering down method with just plain water or oil. So in conclusion, horses are of big importance in my life, and that's why I chose this topic, and I wanted to spread awareness on how horses should be taken care of and what owner should look out for.